Hey everyone, are you tired of feeling overwhelmed and distracted? Do you long for a sense of clarity amidst the chaos of daily life? In this video, I'll share the strategies and practices that I use to take control of my inner thoughts and emotions, say goodbye to the constant noise and welcome a life of clarity, serenity, and inner harmony. Let's get into it. So looking back at myself 5 years ago, I was all over the place. My mind was a mess. I was constantly rushing from one thing to the next. I didn't really think through things. I didn't really think about the future. I was just constantly reacting to what was straight in front of me. I didn't even realize at the time that mental clarity was an option. I didn't really know about mindfulness and meditation. I thought it was some, hippie thing that came out of Buddhist training. We live in this extremely fast-paced world and everything is competing for your attention. You've got social media, you've got the constant pinging of your phone, you've got constant requests from friends and family, and it can all get quite overwhelming, particularly if you're a bit of a people pleaser like me and you're constantly wanting to help people. I think I was just getting to the point where I was not taking care of myself and being so self-sacrificial in terms of my time. And this took its toll. There was definitely points in my life where I wasn't happy or fulfilled. And my relationship with myself really suffered. I was pushing myself to limits both at work and at home. This was definitely taking its toll on my mental health, but also my physical health. And this kind of culminated in me overextending myself physically. I'd been to a gym class and then was rushing to do the London to Brighton cycle with my friends. And I was cycling so quickly. I took excessive risks, so I would get there in time and eventually got hit by a car that pulled into the cycle lane and broke my elbow, so I can't actually straighten my elbow. And I think that caused me to really take a look at myself and slow down. Something was wrong, like I was not hitting the mark for some reason. And I assumed it was something that was just, fundamentally wrong with me, like I had ADHD or something, and it was never going to change. So I just had to kind of deal with that in the same way someone deals with any other issues they have in their life. I think one of the main realizations from that was just sometimes the harder you push, the greater the resistance. Or if you're pushing against an immovable object, then the resistance is just going to be greater and greater, and you end up doing things that are kind of counterproductive. But then the pandemic hit. That forced me to take a long pause. 90% of what I was doing, like going out with friends, eating out, socializing, was no longer an option. That was actually quite welcome for me in terms of what I needed in my life. I joked that I moved home from the office, so I kept all my things in the office and just gradually moved them back home. Spent a lot more time at home, obviously, given it was the pandemic. And I felt like that was really a pause I needed in my life to help move myself forward. So I took this opportunity in the pandemic to explore mindfulness. I'm always open to new ideas, and there was a lot of hype about mindfulness at the time, given everyone was having mental health issues. So I thought I'd give it a go, and I downloaded the Calm app and did the kind of intro course from Sam Harris. And I have to say, I just did it not how they suggested to do it. I listened to the course literally just before I went to bed. So I was just lying in bed and just let it wash over me. I found it to be amazing. I was just woken up to so many things that I never really thought about before. So through this mindfulness and meditation, I learned what I deem to be a really valuable lesson, and that is that I am not my thoughts. Eckhart Tolle talks about it a lot in his book, The Power of Now, which I really recommend, and it kind of aligns with mindfulness and meditation. But yeah, that realization that you're not your thoughts and you can actually stand back and observe your thoughts. The analogy I quite liked was that your thoughts are basically logs floating down the river. There's a constant stream and you're standing here on the shore, and you can jump on those logs, ride them for a bit and jump off. You don't have to ride them all the way down the river. You could just even stand on the side of the shore and observe them going by. And that was a game changer for me, because I think as a mathematician, actuary, a problem solver, you're trained to use your thoughts and your mind and your very logical deductions to kind of solve problems. And that's often brought you quite a lot of success in the past. And I remember hearing from why John Nash suffered from bipolar, and he said partly because he often kind of believed his thoughts, recognized, and that had brought him so much success in the past with his maths. He's obviously won a Fields Medal for his work on game theory. That kind of logical deduction doesn't work in the real world, and it can actually be quite damaging to your mental health if you do try and apply that same logic. I like the analogy that your thoughts are like logs floating on the river, and actually the best thing to do is to stand on the shore and watch them go by. Particularly the negative thoughts, you probably don't want to ride that log very far. So then pandemic obviously ended and I kind of stopped, but recently I've taken it back up and it's part of my morning routine now. I do 10 minutes of meditation using the Sam Harris's own app now, the Waking Up app, which I really like. It's great for, providing perspective in the morning and really does make you think. So absolutely love that and would recommend it as part of anyone's morning routine. I guess the benefit of doing it first thing in the morning as well is like, if you do it before other people get up in the house or before you have to go to work, then there's nothing really stopping you from taking that 10 minutes. Like, what's 10 minutes in the day? Set your alarm 10 minutes earlier. You can definitely get it done and it's so worth it. I actually really look forward to it. So another powerful tool on my kind of clarity journey was journaling. And I used to get myself into pretty aggressive kind of thought loops. The techniques I used initially to kind of deal with that is just writing everything down. And that helps you, or kind of limits the amount of rumination you do on a certain topic or problem. So if you just get it down, write it down, get it out your head, you don't have to worry about thinking about it anymore. You can know that it's there if you ever want to go back to it. Actually, on reflection, if you go back to read what you've written down, 90% of the time, it's just nonsense. So it's just that internal mental chatter that comes out and you don't actually have to react to it. And it's quite cleansing to kind of just write down the page. Again, started that in the pandemic, kind of took a break when things opened up, but recently restarted, mainly because I have a child now and I actually really like having a record of each day, and I take the time every morning to write that out. I now follow a much more structured kind of evidence-based protocol from Andrew Huberman, and this is designed to kind of lower stress, increase creativity and lower reactivity, and just provide like a real mirror, like for yourself, provide a real mirror for your mind, so you can really reflect on where you're at each day. Andrew Huberman protocol, you can look it up on his site obviously, but it's the actually added feelings, so recognizing how you're feeling at the moment, you're happy, sad, frustrated, anxious, whatever. So feelings, but then you go into gratitudes. That's shown to have a very powerful kind of mental effect. You also do today, or I call it today, which is basically a quick plan for the day. I find that really helpful, just to kind of get yourself in the game for the day, work out if you've got any meetings, if there's anything you need to do, like write down your frog for the day. So eat the frog, do the most important thing, the hardest thing, get that done, helps with productivity. And once you've done today, you can then look into fears. So that's been an interesting one for me because I'm often like, I'm not scared of anything. But actually when you force yourself to think about what you're scared of and then write it down, one, you realize there's always something. And then two, you realize that actually you're probably applying slightly higher probability to that fear event happening than is actually likely. So that's probably your negativity bias coming in. After you've done fears, you can do what to look out for. I haven't quite looked into the point of this, but I think of it as like speaking to that kind of animal brain that's telling you to kind of keep watch for certain threats and things. So I just normally write down basically an area where I might slip up against my goals for the day, eating junk foods, having alcohol, that sort of thing, which I want to avoid. And then the final thing is what to strive for. So like, what does the great day look like? That kind of ties in with this like theme of manifestations. So, if I were to picture my perfect performance, Michael Phelps doing his, perfect swim, what does my perfect day look like? So I think there's some really powerful kind of journaling prompts that you can use. So I then take a picture of my journaling and then stick it on the day one app. So I have a record on my phone. I can take that wherever I go. And then I hope over time, I've only been doing this for like 260 days now, but I hope that over time it will have that fantastic thing where I can reflect on previous years. I love on Apple Photos, the fact that you can look at like 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago, and it just really helps you like reflect and be grateful for the life that you've had. And I find that just has really positive psychological effects. So along my journey, I obviously found lots of interesting books on the topic. So I mentioned The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. I also like this book, Becoming a Person by Carl Rogers. He was like a psychotherapist genius from what I can work out, so really interesting to hear what he has to say. Then I also quite liked Scattered Minds by Gabor Mate because I kind of came to this from the approach or the idea that I had some sort of ADHD, when in actual fact I think it was largely a function of my environment, the way my mind was set up or wired. Yeah, debatable. Some experts can probably come and tell me if that's right one way or the other. So my transformation, I think so far has been fantastic. I've definitely experienced greater positivity, less reactivity, and just overall lower stress. I think my performance has improved. I think I'm calmer and more positive. And I also think that my life has been enriched because I take that time to kind of reflect on what I've done and things that have done well and what's important to me and plan for the day. I can often layer in 1 or 2 extra things that can really help things go. So I think it's just a massive performance enhancer, which I absolutely love. I obviously don't talk about this much at work. One of the quotes from my Stoic book is about like, you don't need to tell people you're a philosopher, you just act it. And so I don't go around telling people I do this, except obviously on YouTube, want to share that. I definitely have received feedback from colleagues and in my year-end review saying Josh has a huge amount of like serenity, poise, calmness, which they all really appreciate. So I think it's really interesting to get that independent kind of feedback that this is working. So overall, I think it's been a fantastic thing that I've brought into my life. So there we have it. That's my journey from like chaos to clarity, let's say. I'm definitely not perfect. I still make mistakes. I still get locked into my own thoughts. But with these tools and kind of strategies, I feel like I've come on in a huge way. So I hope you can take something away from this. I would thoroughly recommend it. Even if you're looking at success in one dimension, so physical success, I think it's so important to work on the mind as well. Or if you're looking at career success as well, definitely important to work on the mind because your mind's your greatest asset. So yeah, my thoughts no longer have power over me. I can watch them from the shore. Try not to get too worked up. So I hope by sharing this, you can employ some of the methods and strategies that I've talked about, and you can go on your own journey to reducing that mental noise and unlocking some clarity in your mind. Hopefully I've inspired you to take up some meditation, or at least given you a few more benefits, or just shared my experience of how I think it's helped me. If you want to hear more from me about general, career and success, or just my experience in life, don't forget to check out this video here. Thanks so much.